What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be replacing an upper control arm on this 2003 GMC Sonoma. Sounds like a simple enough job. I already did that side and it whooped my butt. I watched a couple YouTube videos to see if there were any tips or tricks to make the job easier, just because of like the tight spaces of like actually getting the arm to come up and out. Kind of just beat your head against the wall and get the sucker out. But I did find a couple little tips and tricks that I think you could benefit from. So making this video to show you them. So yeah, let me get this thing up, get this control arm out, and show you my tips and tricks along the way. All right, so here is the upper control arm that needs to be replaced. There's rubber on the back side of it that has completely disintegrated, so also ball joint looked a little iffy, so just going to replace the whole thing. That way this guy is good to go. So the problem ends up being is that there's a nut back there and a nut back here that hold this thing on. Those are also the nuts that alignment shops use to adjust the camber of these things. So they're kind of a pain to get to, but it's not impossible. I'm sure you probably already know things like being taken into account the strength of this coil spring. So we're gonna need to put a jack up under here, take tension off that, get this little castle nut off of the top. And let me show you. I don't know if you can see. See, there's one little nut down there and the other one is way back in there. So I actually thought that that other side was going to be the more difficult side because of all the air conditioning stuff, all the tubes and the condenser and or the dryer, whatever it is. But I think this one's going to be a little bit more tougher just because of like all the hard brake lines. Probably going to take this air box out just to get more room down in there. So yeah, let me go ahead and do all this preliminary work and then I'll show you the rest of it. All right, so I did take the air box out just for better access to these bolts. So let me try and show them to you. Here's going to be the first one, and that second one is way back here. So that's what you're working with. This is the top of the control arm. So yeah, let me break them loose, get them started, and then the part under here is easy to get to, so won't be nothing after that. All right, I've been fighting for my life with the two bolts that hold, or the two nuts that hold the inside of this upper control arm on. And I keep referencing this other video on YouTube. I need to link him below because the guy's great. But I had to go back and watch the video because like I don't remember him mentioning this part. And when I went back and watched the video, his truck is a little bit different from mine, because in his video he just says, oh yeah, there's those two nuts, I got to get them off. And then he goes into like his little helpful tip. And then like camera cuts away and then he's like, all right, now I got those two off, let me show you this tip. I was like, all right, well, he must have not had trouble getting his nuts off. I was like, all right, why was his so much easier? So I had to look carefully at his video and at my truck, and let me show you, there is a difference that's making mine way harder. All right, so looky here. So you see, where's something I can put this flashlight on? So see this braided brake line right here? He does not have that on his truck. So right here is where the airbox goes. So you definitely want to take that out to get to these nuts. But then because this brake line is right here, I can't get very many turns on my wrench. A socket won't go on it, and I have a ratchet wrench, but it doesn't work quite as well. So anyway, if you have like a Sonoma like this one, and you have this braided brake line, the thing I found best to do is just use the open end and just turn it 30 degrees or 45, crank it, turn the wrench over, do it another 45 degrees, and just keep going like that. I also sprayed some Kroil on it just to kind of help loosen it up, because they are locking nuts, which makes it that much harder to get rid of them. But yeah, that braided brake line right there is what's causing me all my fuss. So yeah, I got the one closest to the front off, working on getting this back one off. It's almost off now. And once that's off, then I'm going to show you my little trick for getting this control arm out. And yeah, hopefully this helps you and you don't have to beat your head against the wall like I have been for about half an hour now. All right, and one more thing. So finally got that nut out. If you are taking this out, just in case you don't know, this nut is going on a stud that is used to adjust the camber of the wheel. So there's these shims. They look like that. So you're gonna have the nut going on the stud, hitting up against that bar in the upper control arm, and then these are gonna be sitting on that bolt to help adjust it. So when you're taking this stuff out, don't lose these shims, and remember how many go. So like this back one, there's 3 thick ones and 1 thin one. And then the front bolt, there was like 5 or something like that. So be mindful of these if you're taking this thing apart. Okay, now I can show you, excuse me, the little trick that I've been talking about. All right, so here, let's have a look. So see how this is going to be the back side of that bolt that I was talking about. And see how it's got that little clip that's, it's like a retainer, so that the bolt doesn't spin as you're tightening the other side. And they both have that clip on them. So let me find a spot for my light. This light is terrible, by the way. Battery died on my other one. God, this one wouldn't stick to flypaper. All right, there we go, close enough. All right, so here's that little retaining clip. So my trick is that little retaining clip, it's kind of just sitting on the edge of the bolt head. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tap this thing all the way around with like a hammer, because you kind of got to really get in there. Tap it all the way around so that there's more of this head exposed. And then once that happens, you can put a socket on it and then just give it a little twist, and it'll pop out of the hole that it's in, because it's not threaded into anything. It's just like, it's an actual like press fit into this hole. So let me go ahead and do my little tap tap thing, and then I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Now I will say, yesterday when I did this on that other side, what I actually did is I used this little thing and I pried that clip off, and I did it that way. Which, I mean, that works too, but I think this way is going to be easier, because I kind of tried it yesterday. But yeah, this should be the way to go. So I'm just going around all sides of the bolt head. Yeah, because I guess when they put that retaining thing on from the factory, they just kind of put it on just enough. So here. See how kind of more of that bolt head is exposed now? Now let me get my socket. All right, let's see. That's that one broke loose. Now let me do the same to the other side. And while I'm thinking about it, I will say, when you go to put these bolts back in, yesterday I made the mistake of putting the bolt in and then putting the nut on the back and trying to just tighten the nut and hold this bolt from the back. But because they're press fit into those holes, when we get ready to put those bolts back in, you can just tap on the head of the bolt and just kind of like press it back in this little hole, and then put those nuts on the inside back on and you're good to go. All right, those broke loose. Let's see. Da, 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 da. Oop. Almost there. Right now I'm putting my fingers on the behind the bolt and just pulling it back with some pressure as I wiggle this back and forth. There we go. Because like the other guy in his video, he got a hammer. I think he said he got a hammer like this, and he got it in there on the back side of the bolts and just started hammering them out that way, which, I mean, both ways are going to work. I just wanted to try my little tricky way. All right, so. See, there's one bolt. See, that's the retaining clip thing on it. And you can see the little shoulder of how it's like pressed into those holes. So that's that one. All right. And then there's the second one. Now, comes right out. So there's the bolt holes. And yeah, see, this is why I wanted to replace this for him. The rubber in it is busted. Let's see. Ball joint, I mean, it looks okay. But yeah, like I said, he said he had a death wobble. I surprisingly didn't hear much clunking, even though the first control arm, the rubber was completely gone. Like it was just a metal stick in the A-frame. But yeah, that's my little trick. Hope that helps. Let's see, I'm going to get the new one ready, put its little grease nipple on it. I got to move this little rubber stopper over, clean everything up, and I'll show you what I mean about tapping those bolts back in there. All right, so now I got the new upper control arm. Had to switch over this little rubber bump stop. When you get these out of the box, these nuts are very tight, and this bar does not spin in it. So you want to loosen these up so that you can spin it and just get it in there. And then once it's all put back together and you get weight on the suspension, then hammer in on these, make them tight. But you want to have a little bit of play so that you can actually line it up and get it in there. So with that said, let's line it up and get it in there. Get it over that shock stud. All right. Get these holes lined up. All right. Stick that one in. And stick that one in. All right. And now's that part where I said you want to hammer in don't have any room on my little lift arm here. This is the part where you want to hammer in the bolts, because like I said, they are kind of press fit in their little holes. It doesn't take much. That one. Yes, I'm using a pry bar to do this. Use whatever you want. All right. Let's see. All right. Yeah, so now that one needs some more. And that one needs a little bit more of a bump. Let's see. All right, yeah. Every time I say, all right. So now they're pressed back in. So now when I go to put those nuts back on from the other side, I don't have to worry about them moving or spinning or anything. I mean, those little retainers are going to keep it from spinning, but sometimes, like when I did the other side, they wanted to pop out and then spin. So go ahead, tap them in, press them back in. Now all I gotta do is put everything back together. Gotta let it back down, put those two nuts on, put the little shims back in, and yeah, hook this back up to that, grease it up, good to go. All right, let's get this jack up under the lower control arm. Weight off. All right. Let's see. All right. There's some of it. Now I get the castle nut on threads of this ball joint, and that all the way up. All right, now let me keep And take a look, keep a little more pressure on it. Okay. That's good. All right. Now I'm going to get everything back up in the air, tighten that nut up, and put the cotter pin in, and that should be it. Good to go. All right, finally done. Well, except for the tidying up. I still got to put like the airbox in. That's pretty much it. Put the airbox in, put the wheels and tires back on, and send this guy on his way. So for recap, we've got new brake pads on it, we've got new rotors on it, we've got new wheel bearings on it, we got new upper control arms on it. Also on the other side, same thing, new brake pads, new rotors, new wheel bearings, new upper control arm. I had a heck of a time getting these little locking lugs off because he didn't have the key. This one I tried using a special tool on, took forever to get it off. This one I ended up just getting a 12-point socket, smashing it on it with a hammer, and then breaking it off with a breaker bar. So yeah, this took way more time than it should have, but yeah. Anyway, that's it for this truck. I hope you learned something from how to take that upper A-arm off of an S10 or a GMC Sonoma. And yeah, until later, I'm Slung Rod Garage. Bye.